The critics have spoken, and ouch! Really, again? I really thought that after the Batman v Superman thing where more people liked it but less critics did, we would see a slightly more uptick. Oh well. I'm gonna enjoy the movie anyway, I'm sure.
Welcome to the heart of the stories we tell. My name is Rob, and tonight I will be reviewing
Justice League, the movie. And whoo boy, have I been waiting a lifetime to say those words. The Justice League movie. I'm a Justice League fanboy, so to be fair, I would have liked this movie if it was the worst movie in history. And I don't think that's the case. I'm looking at you, Troll, too. But the Justice League, in theory, is different than the Avengers. They're not just some heroes that got together. These are like a pantheon of Greek gods. In some cases, very, very much Greek gods. And there were some hopes I had going in, some of which were dashed, some of which I was happy with. You'll have to wait till spoiler territory before I could tell you which ones are which. But overall, I enjoyed the story. I've recognized the characters as the ones that were going into this, and I liked some of the themes. For those of you that don't know, what I do here is I examine stories. I do reviews as stories come out, and I do theories on storytelling every Sunday night. If you're interested, click that subscribe button. But for now, let's talk specifically about Justice League. We knew going in that Batman and Wonder Woman was going to be building the team. Everyone suspects that Superman's going to be in it in more than just a dream sequence. Originally, the working catchphrase was Unite the Seven, but since Green Lantern's been removed from most of the stuff, it's become Unite the League, with the 5 of them taking the spot on the billboards. We get lots of little nods and world building towards everyone's individual movies, but this is still very much a family league moment. Now, I don't think you need to do the Big 7 to do the league, but I'm glad they did. Coming out of Wonder Woman, obviously she was the main thing that was moving and shaking here, but I want to see a generational, an entire concept of what the family means. But at the same time, I don't mind that Wonder Woman was very much the driving force. The action was on point, there were some good jokes, and in general, the characterization is perfect. Overall, with my rating system, I'm still giving this one a gold. And yes, I'm sure that there are going to be people that disagree with me. In fact, since it got such a horrible Rotten Tomato score of only 39%, I'm sure all of those critics are asking me what I was smoking. But the story was top-notch. The concepts were good. The plot revolved relatively well, and I am not going to say this was a perfect movie, not by a long shot. There are plenty of nits I could pick. In general, though, it showed the hero's journey as it takes place with each individual character. Batman's a Cinderella story, Wonder Woman's a Cinderella story, Aquaman's a man in the hole, Flash is rags to riches. Not quite sure how to categorize Aquaman, but at the end of the day, they all come together, and as Alfred says, this is the team. I will be complaining about some superhero movie cliches, though, because no superhero movie seems to be able to get away from them. But I think with that, we need to throw this up there.
So once again, it's stop. Spoiler time.
Okay, still here? Good. So let's talk about some of those surprises. I really wanted a Green Lantern cameo. I kind of expected maybe a Ben Sur to show up and die and the ring to go away. But no, what we got is in flashback, during the Wonder Woman fight sequence, when everyone came together, there was a Green Lantern on Earth then. There hasn't been a Green Lantern since then, I'm guessing. But, okay. It was still cool to see one, and to see that they can do it. Although that then leads to the end credit scene that I will talk about at the end of this. First, let's do some elements of fiction. The setting is pretty simple. It's the same weird Earth that we started to get to know in Man of Steel, and brought us through in Batman v Superman, and then later in both Wonder Woman and Suicide Squad. It's a world where the impossible just is, and it's a world without a Superman. In fact, that's where we're starting off. A world without hope. A world that, well, I guess when we get to theme and symbolism, we'll get to exactly what I mean by that. Basically the lowest of the low. What about the characters? I feel kind of funny doing this. I mean, you'd have to be living under a rock not to know what characters we're talking about here, right? We're talking about the Justice League. Well, 5 of the big 7 of the Justice League, anyway. We're going to start off with the fact that overall as a team, they're new. They don't know what they're doing. They're focusing on trying to learn to work together because they have to, because the enemy is just too powerful. We have Wonder Woman first and foremost, and of course, we've already met her both in Batman v Superman and later in her own movie. She's kind of a woman in a hole. She's the person who has given up on hope and lost her hope because of everything she saw. But at the same time, she has the potential to be another Superman, and they play that up a lot. Then we have the Flash, and this Flash feels more like the Flash I'm used to in the comics than the one on the TV show does. Not that I dislike that one. But Flash can move at lightning speed, and it's not just speed, it's full use of another dimension, the Speed Force. Then we have Aquaman, and Aquaman is very much a loner who doesn't know what's going on in the world. One of the jokes that I'm not sure how well it's going to land is played at his expense. But, I mean, you have to realize this guy is pretty much a demigod in and of himself. And he's not even the strongest member of the team. Wonder Woman is, well, pre-you-know-who coming back. Batman is very much the man who was high and is now low, and is trying to rebuild. What does he want to do? He wants to put together a team because he knows this enemy is coming. He impresses everyone with his insights and his ability to figure things out, but at the same time, Aquaman kind of has it right. Your best plan is to die? You are insane. And then we have Victor Stone, the cyborg. He has a lot going on. And the internal conflict of whether or not he is a man or a machine is definitely something that's going to be a reoccurring theme in this series. However, they don't have a lot of time to develop that. The actor did pretty good, not perfect, but I really liked the way he played him and the way he played off of things. And in the end of the day, he was as much a hero as the big blue guy. In fact, the two of them are the ones that save the day in the end. So what about Superman? Superman's lost. Yeah, he's just been resurrected, and his whole world's been turned upside down. But this is the Superman I want to see on the big screen, even more so than I liked Man of Steel, and so don't get me wrong, but this is the Superman that can crack jokes. This is the Superman that has a heart that can just breed awesomeness. And Henry Cavill does it perfectly. If this was the Superman that showed up in Man of Steel, I think no one would have complained. But okay. Then we have other supporting cast members like Mira and Gordon, and they don't really get enough time to shine, but each of them at least gets a moment or two, all of which I hope plays out more in future films. Then we have our main villain, Steppenwolf. It felt like there was 5 minutes more needed at developing his character. He's a force of nature, he's a badass, he's powerful, and everything about him is just perfect villain. But, I mean, he was exiled, he had to wait to be called. I mean, there was a lot of things that could have done some good pathos for him that I feel were missed opportunities. Then again, maybe that's on the cutting room floor. The plot is pretty simple. The plot itself is mostly linear, although every once in a while there are flashbacks. It's basically the call to action for the Justice League and the building of the entire universe that is, hey, these are the people that Batman chooses to work with. And it's a pretty interesting dynamic. But at the end of the day, it's still just basically let's all get together, and as with every superhero movie ever, let's also have an excuse to all fight, and then we'll work together in the end, and of course we save the day, and the Justice League is born. There you go, that's the plot in a nutshell. The flashbacks every once in a while are to things like Wonder Woman or Aquaman talking about the previous war with Darkseid's minions. But again, not much is done. Whose point of view are we following? The movie jumps around a bit. At different points, we follow different members of the League in their own sub-story before they all come together. Of course, most of that time is spent with the two that we know the most, specifically Batman taking the lead, even though I think that's a mistake, and Gal Gadot should have been given a little more flexing room. Of course, once Superman comes back, it's kind of a toss-up whether it's Lois or Clark we're actually following. The interesting choice, though, was the setup for the climax is done early on. Steppenwolf has set up a base somewhere in the middle of Russia, which is Chernobyl but not Chernobyl. And we get our first look almost right at the beginning of a family, just a normal everyday family. And instead of focusing on the macro, we focus on the micro. These heroes aren't just fighting to save every family, they're fighting to save this one family that we get to see every once in a while here and there. And that way, in the end, when Flash has to run and rescue them because Batman told him to, we have a little more oomph to it. We have a little more personal stakes. It was a very nice choice to give a point of view to what it must feel like to be stuck in a superhero slugfest. And with that, we're going to themes and symbolism. They skip out on the who am I that most of these superhero things go with, because for the team up they need to really deal with how and why we come together. And I think Alfred says it best to Bruce, so I'm going to let him take it.
This isn't the plan. No, Master Wayne. This is the team.
And that's it. This is the team. A team of outsiders, a team of misfits, a team that's going to have to rise above to reclaim the age of heroes. Broken people doing the best they can to make up for a world without a Superman. Bookend lines really do the theme of this movie some great justice. Superman, being interviewed before he died, said that the symbol on his chest means hope, and that his father originally told him that hope comes in the form of keys. You might lose them from time to time, but at the end of the day, once you look for them, you'll find them. Which ties in greatly to Diana's need to believe in humanity. But Lois says it even better at the end of the movie. The darkest moment in your life isn't when there's no light. It's when you believe that the light is never coming back. But there's always a dawn. So what about the good, the bad, and the ugly? Well, I've spent a lot of this review talking about the good, and the fact that, like I said up top, I mean, the action sequences will blow your mind. But now I'm going to tear this movie down, even though I gave it a gold rating. Because there are some problems. They rushed to do things, because especially the recruiting of the team could have been a movie in and of itself. And then when they finally get to the resurrected Superman, we have just enough time to have the problem where you have to fight Pet Sematary Superman. But like every other problem in this movie, it's got to be moved along because they only have 2 hours and 15 minutes to tell this story that feels like it could have been a 4-hour, 2-part movie. On top of that, we have the fact that Wonder Woman gets severely underplayed in this. She should be an equal to Superman, but when they go to fight, her, Aquaman, and Cyborg together can't take him. In the comics, she's as strong as Superman and as well trained as Batman. The fact that she doesn't have as much commercial appeal means that she doesn't get pushed to the forefront nearly as much as she should. But in this, constantly, she is taken down a peg as Superman is shown to be just so much stronger than the rest of the team put together. I really felt like arguing that when Batman tells her, you could be like him, you could be an icon, you could be up front. I felt like saying, yeah, well, the writers don't seem to agree with you as much as I do. And it gets even worse, because you know what we end up with? We end up with jokes about her boobs. I understand that she's the only woman on the team, and that she is super attractive. I am not knocking Gal's looks at all. But at the end of the day, there is no reason why everyone needs to be fixated on her. They're obviously shipping Batman and Wonder Woman, but they have to have Flash kind of be unable to talk to her, and then accidentally land in her cleavage, and then they have to have Aquaman hitting on her when he's wrapped in the rope, or while sitting on the rope of truth, because, you know, his truth couldn't possibly be, you're the most badass warrior I've ever met. I'm kind of turned on by it, but you kind of scare me. No, it has to be you're beautiful, and I want to date you. Seriously, she's part Greek god. I mean, I don't understand why it is that you can't just have Wonder Woman be powerful. But as much as everyone's going to focus on the glammed up Amazons and the fact that they redid half the costumes for no apparent reason, I'm going to give them a little bit of credit here. We see a couple of badass fights, and 2 out of the 3 of them, the Amazons are kicking ass. The Amazons at the dawn of time, and then again, the Amazons are the only, like the Atlanteans don't give half as good of a showing as the Amazons do when fighting Steppenwolf. Even though that brings us to my final problem, and I made this a little abundant in characters. Steppenwolf has all the makings of a great dramatic villain. He has angst, he's been kicked out, he's been waiting centuries for this, and now he's here to conquer the planet. But he comes off more than a little cartoonish. Although, when he shows fear at the end, I did kind of giggle. Maybe I was supposed to be pumping my fist at that point. But again, everything else was so awesome. Especially the fact that Superman was cracking jokes with Cyborg. All in all, though, I will defend my gold rating. This movie is a top-end story, the kind that should be seen and enjoyed. If for nothing else than for the 2 end credit scenes. So okay, ready to talk about the end credits? The first one is good-natured farm boy against big city scientist in a race. Because, you just can't end it without a good joke. And the fact that Superman has chemistry with both Flash and Cyborg is awesome. I'd like to see him go a round or two with Aquaman, too. Maybe even befriend Diana as well. But for now, the race sequence was awesome. But the one that came next surprised the hell out of me. You remember this footage that was leaked a while ago? Everyone said Deathstroke was going to be in the new Batman movie? Nope. This is the end scene of Justice League, more or less. Lex Luthor has escaped prison, is surrounded by bodyguards, and Deathstroke comes to see him. At which point Deathstroke says, "Are you wasting my time?" And he goes, No, I value my life far too much. Just celebrating the return of God, aka Superman. He's put together a league of his friends. Maybe we should have our own league. Bum bum bum. In Justice League. If Warner Brothers is smart, that's what we're going to see in the sequel movies. Plural. Flash, Cyborg, Aquaman. We're going to see Luthor building his Injustice League off their own rogue galleries. And in doing so, set up Justice League 2 for when and if it comes out. Although I'm willing to bet that even though this is going to get critically panned, it's going to be a box office smash by any expectation, because it's going to be huge. Those are my thoughts, though. What about yours? Did you enjoy the nostalgia of seeing the old Batman and Superman music playing? Did you like the action? Or did you think that the other critics were right, and that I'm an idiot? Let me know down in the comment section. But on the other hand, if you enjoyed my prattling on about the movie, hit that thumbs up button, share this video on your social media, and of course subscribe if you haven't already. What I'm trying to do is build a community, and I'm into the 70s for how many subscribers I have so far. When I hit 100, I'm going to do a big giveaway as a thank you to all of you that have subscribed. For now, though, I've got more superhero goodness for this weekend, plus some personal plans. So, I hope you all have a good day, and thank you for walking with me through the heart of the Justice League.